Good morning, and as you may or may not know already, FORZA Motorsport 7 is being removed from the Xbox Store, along with many of the previous FORZA games that have already gone from the Xbox Store. And if we just go into the store briefly, let me show you what I mean. If I do a search for FORZA, or FORZA, here we go. There you go. We got Forza Horizon 5, which is coming out soon. We got Forza Horizon 4, and that's still available. 3's already gone. But if we just go into M for Motorsport, we can bring up Motorsport now. If we look here, 6 is listed. It says install because I already own the game, but it's not currently available. It says continue shopping. And that's because Forza Motorsport 6 has already been removed from the store some time ago. And 7, as I understand it, is being removed later on today as I'm recording this video. So in the UK, if you haven't got it already, you've probably missed out. Now, I was actually sent a code for the standard edition of Forza Motorsport 7, which was great. And that was because I already had a load of DLC and they sent me that. And now I've pretty much got the full game. The problem there is that some of the DLC is only available in the Ultimate and Special Editions or whatever. So if I want the full game, I'm still going to have to shell out the $17.49 for the Ultimate Edition, even though I've got most of the DLC and the standard game already. So that's a bit of an annoyance, but it is what it is. But a bigger problem is to do with game preservation, because as this shows, what Microsoft are talking about with game preservation and what is actually happening with their games are two different things in some respects. And I know that there are limitations as to what they can do as regards these games, because there's licensing for cars, there's licensing for music and stuff like this. But I do think this shows up that we have a problem. If we just go into my Discord briefly, we've got a lot of people scrabbling around. Vaniel or Wagnaus, as I call him. Sorry, mate, I keep butchering your name. He says he almost ran out of time because he bought the Ultimate Edition yesterday he's in Brazil. So he bought the Ultimate Edition. But a lot of people are in that boat. But after that, it's gone. It's gone. And I said to the other day in a Chip Chat episode, and watch that if you're interested in people chatting about games, because it was an interesting chat. I said there that I'd like to see a Forza collection, like the Master Chief collection. Whether they could do that or not is open to question. But what's interesting, as I say, is what Microsoft have actually said, and I don't think it quite sits with what's going on. Phil Spencer, in an interview that's reported by Jeffrey Russo in Games Industry Biz on 15th of July this year, said this. And I agree with him. He says, I do worry a little about losing our art form and the history of it. And it is an art form, you know, and I do agree with him on this. I do worry that we're going to lose these games. And I know there's some gamers out there like, who cares about old games? Well, I'm sorry, but you're a Philistine, because that's like saying who cares about old paintings or who cares about old movies? Who cares about old books, you know? Let's burn all the Shakespearean sonnets because, you know, who wants those? It's an awful idea that we don't look at these games and preserve them. We found this with music. We've lost music. We found this with TV programs. Lots of episodes of Doctor Who have gone missing over the years because they recorded over them. And we're going to see this with games. And, you know, Forza's not an old game. Let's be honest. Forza 7, it's not been out that long. What, 2 years? Something like that? Maybe 3 years? He goes on to say, I'm not going to read this sentence because it's gobbledygook. But he goes on to add here, he says, I really wish as an industry we'd come together to help preserve the history of what gaming is about, so we don't lose the ability to go back. And that's crucial. We must be able to go back. And I've said this before in previous videos. It's very important to be able to go back and play these games, to understand our history, to understand how these genres came about, how first-person shooters came about. What were the first-person shooters? What were the first side-scrolling platformers? How did the game designers build them? This is both interesting from just a gamer's perspective to be able to play these games, but also from a historian's perspective. If you're looking at how to build games, all these things are really important. He goes on to say, this is Phil Spencer still, he goes on to say, let me see. As an industry, I would love it if we came together to help preserve the history of what our industry is about, so we don't lose access to some of the things that got us to where we are today and built this industry. That would be a cool thing. And I agree with him. He does say that there's some issues with games like Steel Battalion that needed, specific controllers to use them. I don't know how you get past that other than preserving the old hardware. That's definitely the case. But for games like Forza, we don't need to do that. We don't need any specific controllers, just your Xbox controller. And, there's countless numbers of games that have been delisted. If I go into Delisted Games here, delistedgames.com, this is delisted Xbox One games. Look, there's loads of them. Look, Burnout Paradise is back now, but that got taken out because that was a 360 game. You just go down and down and down and down. Some of these have come back. But look at the Forza games. Just look at the Forza games. Forza Horizon 2. Forza Horizon 2 presents Fast and Furious. Forza Horizon 3. Forza Motorsport 5. Forza Motorsport 6. All gone from Xbox. As I say, if you already own them, you can still download them. But if you don't own them, if you're a younger kid coming up or whatever, and this is an issue for me, I own these games. But what if, when I kick the bucket, my lad wants these games? They're associated with my account, not his account. So I can't pass them on. Like if I own them physically, I can pass them on. This is an issue with digital distribution as well. So that's a problem. And it gets worse if you go into things like the 360 games. Microsoft, let me be absolutely clear here. Microsoft are doing more than Sony. They're doing more than Nintendo on this. Maybe not doing more than Steam, because I think Steam and certainly GOG are doing really well with this as well, trying to keep older games available. And there are, as I say, there are licensing issues. And if you read Phil Spencer being interviewed about this, you look at the guys from GOG being interviewed about this as well. There are issues. Sometimes you can't even track down who owns the license for a particular thing. And there's multiple licenses in a game as well. So it is problematical. It's not an easy thing to do. But it is something that I think Microsoft should, given what they're saying, be making more of an effort with. And certainly with games like the Forza games, which aren't old. But if we go down here, look at the list. These are 360 games. There's any number of 360 games that I would love to see. And original Xbox games as well. The whole Project Gotham Racing series I keep going on about. Love to see those back. Blur, love to see that back. These are all games. There's, Fear. The Fear games. If we look here, we've got all the Fear games. As far as I'm aware, these aren't available on the Xbox. I think Fear 1 is maybe. I think you might be able to play that on the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X and S. But yeah, there's countless. Look, goes on and on and on. Some of them you're not that bothered about, some of the sports games, but they still need preserving. You want to look at FIFA from 98 versus FIFA now. How's it moved on? Has it got better? Has it got worse? I think in some respects it's got worse because of all the microtransactions and whatnot, but that's a discussion for another day. But then you get into these games. Now, these games like Evolve, and it says here, this is hotspawn.com, esports that never were, 4 games that tried but failed. Now, okay, most gamers aren't going to want to play these games. And I'm not that bothered about playing them. But from a historical perspective, We don't want to lose them because we want to understand about failure with these games as much as we do want to know about success with these games. Certainly, if you're somebody coming up through the industry and you want to be making games, you want to have some understanding of what might make a game successful, surely. So, I mean, you've got Lawbreakers here. That wasn't an Xbox game anyway. Battleborn died a death, didn't it? Gigantic died a death. So, yeah, these kind of games, slightly different, but maybe we need to be trying to, preserve those as well. If we just go back again briefly to the Xbox and Forza, I want these games to be made available. I want my lad to be able to play these games. He loves Forza Horizon 3. I think he plays Forza Horizon 3 a lot. That one's set in Australia. Not available anymore. If we go back, let's just do H for Horizon. Let's see if we can find any more. Let's do Forza Horizon. Sorry about this. Forza Horizon. So if we go, look, you've got Forza Horizon 3 here. Let me have a look. Forza Horizon 3. I own it, so I can manage it. Again, not currently available. So, this is a lot of people still one of their favourite Forza Horizon games, set in Australia. Beautiful game. Really love this game. Not available. So, yeah, it's a big problem. And I think, as I said before, Microsoft and Xbox, where's the article? Let's find it again. What's Phil Spencer's saying? He's talking the talk. I think what he's saying, I agree absolutely with everything he's saying there. But then you look at the Forza games. You look at the Project Gotham Racing. I know they're older games, but a lot of these games, you can't get them anymore. And if Microsoft are really serious about this, they need to come up with some way of stopping these games dropping off the store. Sally said this in that Chip Chat episode I mentioned earlier. Maybe Microsoft just need to say, look, we're advertising your cars. Give us the license all the while we're putting the game out there. I don't know if they could do that. Same with the music. The music industry can be a pain in the ass when it comes to things like that. But maybe they need to organise some way of having a license in perpetuity whereby as long as they're putting the game out, the people who own the different licenses can get a cut or whatever. I don't know how they would work it. But it is something that Microsoft, especially given the noises they're making, should make more of an effort with. I really do think that. They should be making more of an effort, especially with games like Forza. Because they shouldn't be disappearing off the platform. They really shouldn't. Not when Phil Spencer is talking about how we need to preserve our history. I would love it if we came together to help preserve the history of what our industry is about. Well, okay. So put your money where your mouth is and make more of an effort. As I say, I know it's hard. It's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, just do it. Of course you can't just do it. But they should have a team, at least with the newer games. Any Xbox One game that is certainly a viable Xbox One game, any Xbox One game should still be on the platform now. It shouldn't be gone. It just shouldn't be gone ever from the platform. If you're serious about preserving your history. But anyway, look, that's what I have to say about it. You guys might disagree with me. You might not care about old games. And if you don't, then that's fine. You're just a Philistine. But anyway, look, I'm done. I've whittled on enough and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.